Hey everyone, it's Nico, and in this video, I've got a really awesome upcoming NES homebrew to share with all of you. This is Mega Kaiju Boom Ball. Now, full disclaimer though, this is a beta version of the game that was sent over to me from the developer John, so thank you John, and also thank you to the publisher Paul for suggesting me to cover this, because had it not been for them, I would never have heard of this game probably. So this is a block breaker, so think Breakout, think Arkanoid, but with its own unique style by incorporating giant kaiju style monsters that you'll need to take out over the course of the game. So I had a lot of fun playing this. I'm pretty excited to share it with all of you. It will be available both digitally and physically in the future, so stay tuned to the end of the video. I'll have links to all of that stuff. So going into games like this, the first concern I always have is how does the game control? Because I've played a lot of modern indies that are this style of game, whether they're incorporating roguelite elements or adventure elements into the game. The control is always something that it seems like they just can't seem to get right. You know, controlling these types of games with a thumbstick or a D-pad, the sensitivity and the movement speed for not just your bumper but also the ball is something that I think a lot of developers really struggle with getting down. So my first thought was, how is this going to control, because this is a genuine NES release. Yes, this is playing on NES hardware. You will be able to buy a cartridge that will be playable on anything that plays NES games. How does this control on an NES D-pad? Well, I am thrilled to tell you that this is probably the best controlling block breaker that I've ever played on a D-pad. They absolutely nailed the movement speed here of not just your bumper, but also the ball. And your ability to fine-tune this by holding the A button for a speed boost, so you can quickly move left or right, and then you could let go of it and then get that last little bit of fine-tuning in before you make contact and knock the ball back. There's a little bit of a learning period here to get the feel for these things, but once you do, man, this game controls like a dream. Now, for NES games, the story is never really the focal point of the experience. Typically, you're only going to learn the premise in the manual, and that's certainly the case here, other than the opening scene, which is pretty awesome if I'm being honest. But I always appreciate when the story ties in the gameplay in a way that is meaningful, and that again is the case here. So the basic premise is that there are giant monsters from beyond this world called kaiju, so think Mothra, think Godzilla level threats, and they are threatening the world we live in. So in response, the Ballistic Operations and Occupation Military, or BOOM for short, has deployed its prototype bumper and ball weapon to attempt to end this kaiju threat. So that's where you come in, right? This game can be played either single player or two-player co-op. The two-player co-op has 5 of the total 9 levels you can play through, so you can't play all 9. Then the single player, which is how I played this, has 9 total levels. Now think of the way this is structured like Mega Man, right? In Mega Man, you have to defeat all the Robot Masters, and then you unlock Wily's level, which is essentially the final area at the end of the game, and then you could play through and complete the game. The same premise here, although there are 7 total levels that you need to beat first, then the 8th is technically your final level, and then the 9th, which unlocks after beating all the others, is your harder bonus area. Now at this point you've already seen a few minutes of footage, but allow me to briefly explain at least what's going on here. So when I first started playing and I looked at the screen, it looked very busy. And in my head, I wasn't sure what I can actually destroy and what I couldn't. Well, the short answer is that you can destroy almost everything. There are some exceptions where things are indestructible, and you'll learn that as you play. But for the most part, all of the little parts of the environment are destructible, and you are going to have to take them out in order to get to the kaiju threat that is typically at the top of the screen, although a lot of them do move around. Sometimes they'll get close to you, but most of the time they're going to be further away. And when you're doing this, you're going to see a bunch of different power-ups drop. Now, the hearts replenish your hit points. The 2 arrows are speed up, speed down. There's also these 2 lines, which is your laser power-up, which if you have the laser, you can shoot 10 shots from your laser by hitting the B button, and this will assist you in taking out these kaiju threats. There's also multi-ball, which does exactly what you would expect. It puts additional balls on the play field, although do keep in mind that your main one is the one you're going to want to pay the most attention to, because if it drifts down on the screen, it will bring you back to the previous screen. Whereas the additional ball, it doesn't really matter that much. If it goes off the screen, you can keep going. And then the last power-up is going to make your ball glow, and this powers it up and allows it to do more damage. Now, each of the levels is structured in a way where it's multiple screens. So you have to clear the first screen, and then you'll move on to the next, and then you'll proceed that way until eventually you get to the boss fight, which is in the last screen of that area. An additional layer and element to these things is that you might have seen some different vehicles on the screen, which can actually assist you in hitting the kaiju. I saw planes and tanks and submarines just across 3 of the 4 levels that I actually played. This is pretty cool, and it is something that I want to highlight, that you're not just simply trying to hit a ball back and forth until you hit the kaiju enough and then move on to the next screen. There's a lot more interaction going on beyond that. There was actually a boss fight that I did where I destroyed most of the environment, but there was a nuke there. And I didn't think that I'd be able to destroy the nuke. I just thought maybe it was an indestructible part of the environment. But no, I was able to destroy the nuke and absolutely obliterated this kaiju with it and completed the level. It was friggin' awesome, man. I loved it. But getting back to the screen scrolling as you switch through the different screens of a particular level, I do like that this is pinball style, where the main part where the ball can go back on you is down the middle. And if it does manage to get past you, you'll go to the previous screen, and then you can either use the ball launcher to go back up, or just straight hit the ball up the middle gap again. This is pretty cool. I like not losing a life or something like that, and then having to maybe replay the whole level. I think in terms of difficulty, that made this a bit more casual, but I really like that. This game felt almost like relaxing and cathartic to me. Like I was just enjoying myself and didn't feel stressed like I do with a lot of different block breakers, where it's like constantly this, you gotta have like 100% attention being paid to everything that's going on. You're tracing the ball around the screen, like your eyes are popping out of your head, you're not blinking. This one felt a bit more casual in that regard, and I really liked it. It might get more difficult later, but through the first 4 levels that I played, at least, that I've been showing throughout this video, it definitely felt more chill, and I absolutely love that. That's just the right vibe for me at this point in my life. Just kind of kicking back and having a good time with something that I really enjoyed, and I can't emphasize enough just how much I love this game. So I think that pretty much covers everything. The game does save, so if you buy a physical cart, I do believe it will have some flash memory. Obviously, if you're playing the digital and you're using an emulator, you will have the option to use save states as well if you want to. Visually, just like this game was incredibly impressive to me, and I only saw a little bit of sprite flicker. And there is so much going on screen, like it's incredible. Like looking at screenshots of this game, to me, I would think that this is a modern indie game that's running on some sort of modern hardware or PC, because it just does not look like it's actually capable of running on the NES, but it is. The music's pretty good as well, and it felt appropriate for the different environments that I was in. I think that Mega Kaiju Boom Ball is shaping up to be something that you should absolutely play. I definitely want to review this when it's finished. So, John, Paul, if you guys want to send over either physical or digital for the full release, I would gladly cover this again in the future. I simply didn't feel right doing a review on a beta build of a game because I don't think that that's fair. So while this was a review style video, I would like to do a full review in the future. So definitely reach out to me if that's something you're interested in. And for all of you that watched this through to the end, I really hope you enjoyed me showing off this game and what you saw. So let me know in the comments if you plan on picking this up, if it looked good to you, what you liked, what you didn't like, and if you want to try out the demo. I have a link in the description below to the itch.io page where you can download a demo. It's probably going to have different content than what you saw me play here because this was a beta build of the full game that I showcased, but there's a demo available. And then if you want to back this on Kickstarter, either digital or physical, again, link in the description below, check there. It'll have additional information on the game that I didn't necessarily cover here, what the rewards were, and all that sort of stuff. But if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I tried to cover pretty much everything there was to cover. I know I went fairly in-depth for a game that is pretty simplistic, but that's just because I have a lot of passion and really enjoyed the game. So hopefully that showed throughout this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe. Click the bell icon for notifications. I cover lots of different retro and modern indie games here on the channel. But as always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.